Hello again. So, for today, I watched every single movie of a very popular and broadly appreciated director, Christopher Nolan, and I will attempt to make a tier list and include each one of the 11 movies that he created. So, what I tried to do is to put them into the tier list based on the cinematic experience that I had and not of how good puzzle they were. So for the first one, the following very well crafted mystery. If we consider that it was his first movie, we can detect the first glimpses of his directing identity alongside with a decent plot and storytelling. It will not change your life, but I totally recommend it. I really like this movie. Second one, Memento. So Memento, it's also a very decent movie. It should be prior of the following, and it was a very gripping movie. Here, Nolan fully embraces his nature and offers a very intriguing result. It is not his masterpiece, but succeeds precisely what he has in his mind. And if you haven't seen this movie, do it without hesitation. Insomnia. I think it should be in the could be better category. I didn't fancy this movie that much. I felt that this movie is like us, the Gangs of New York for Scorsese. The materials were there, but the result was kind of uninteresting and predictable. However, I don't believe that was a problem. But and also Al Pacino was charming, but he wasn't enough. I'm not saying not to see this movie, but for a Nolan movie, it belongs in this category. On the other hand, the Prestige is a very high quality movie. I'm not sure if this is his best movie, but I have this feeling that it was the movie that I enjoyed the most. All the main actors performed extraordinarily, and the plot was pretty absorbing. It actually ticked many of the boxes I love, and the plot was one of my favorites in general. I've seen like 3 or 4 times and totally recommend, and I really fancy this movie. The Batman Begins. It's here. It's a decent movie. Is prior to the following. The Batman Begins. It was a very enjoyable movie with Liam Neeson giving us a really great performance with of a complete villain. My main problem with this movie was the escalation of the plot, but it actually gives us a very good origin story of Batman, and I do appreciate it. So I'm not sure if it is his magnum opus, but I think it belongs here. I will reconsider in the end. But the only reason that I wonder if anyone could dispute that this is not a masterpiece is actually the Batman himself, meaning that Christian Bale is not actually, in my opinion, the best Batman, and his performance is not the best. But all the other parts of the movie they work perfectly. But I strongly believe that Christian Bale as Batman has flaws, and that's the only reason I don't believe maybe it couldn't belong in the masterpiece category. And actually it contains first rate action scenes and humor. The humor is as much as it should be, in my opinion, and very well placed into the plot. You know, yeah, I think it'd be here. It's a movie with a broader audience, of course, and it will be liked from more people, and I understand it because it's a Batman movie and with action and very like very well made. This movie gives a very good closure of the trilogy. If you love the previous two, you will for sure will watch the this third one. I strongly consider Christian Bale as a charismatic actor, but not in the role of Batman. Honestly, maybe it's a hot take. I don't know, but however, I enjoyed this movie, but it left me with a feeling of fulfillment. It had its flaws in the scenario, and like how and plot wise there were like some things that should happen because it will be extraordinary to happen, but they didn't make sense to happen. I don't know if that makes sense, but overall it's a decent movie. So Inception is here. The Inception is here. I believe after The Prestige, this is the movie I enjoyed the most and rewatched many times. Perfect cinematic experience that grabs you and puts you at the edge of your seat until the end, and it's a very clever and fascinating creation that deserves its hype, and it should be at the beginning of the high quality. It has everything in their place, and I actually it really depends on how harsh you want to be in order to say, yeah, the movie is a masterpiece. I think it's a high quality movie, but it shouldn't be in the masterpiece category. On the other hand, Interstellar should be in the masterpiece category, and I can't explain why. I know that this movie, in terms of how realistic it is problematic. Nevertheless, I believe that this movie is the magnum opus of Nolan, and I will place it there. For me, the main ingredient that many movies lack in order to consider them as a masterpiece is the love of the creator, the passion. And I think that Inception had everything that Inception or The Prestige or The Dark Knight had, but they also, you had this feeling that Nolan actually really loves this project and it's his favorite. This is like the last ingredient that I believe that it should be considered as the best movie of Nolan. On the other hand, I didn't feel it at all in Dunkirk. I think it could be a better movie. I think this one is one of the worst directing performances from Nolan. I felt that it was a bit of a dull movie, which I understand his importance, and I understand his importance to exist as a creation. But as a cinematic experience, I think it lacks of imagination and energy. I also felt that it could be better. Probably it should be before Dunkirk, and for like the last movie, this movie had good moments. I enjoyed Robert Pattinson because I love this actor, and also the action, but overall left me with a bad taste in my mouth, and it could be better. Nolan here seemed unmotivated and not as imaginative and energetic as he was in some of his previous projects. So I believe it belongs there. Is one of the movies, probably the alongside Dunkirk, that I actually couldn't recommend to watch. I would say that if you're a Nolan fan, watch them, watch all of them. They have their identity, but for me, the could be better category should be avoided. Overall, I think that I'm really happy with this tier list. I'm really happy with this tier list. The overall experience of watching the Nolan movies, actually, for sure, it's not one of my favorite directors, but no one can dispute his contribution and his unique identity of directing and creating movies. And yeah, overall, completely understand that someone would tell me that he's best director because I can understand his directing style, and I actually really enjoy watching his movies. So yeah, that was my tier list. I'm waiting for you to give me your feedback under the comments, and see you to the next tier list.